Hi, this is Patrick Finley with the Chicago Sun-Times, and I'm joined here by my colleague Mark Potash. Potsy, real quick before we get to our game predictions against the Vikings on Sunday. Brandon Marshall talked today. It's not football, I know. But what in the world did he say about spending the last 2 days going back and forth on Twitter, trying to set up some sort of boxing match with a Lions fan?
Well, it was typical Brandon Marshall. He sees this. We see it as kind of a distraction for a team that's 3-6, coming off embarrassing losses, really needs to focus on football. He sees it as an opportunity to kind of raise awareness as an anti-bullying campaign.
Okay.
He somehow worked this into a situation where we're at fault for making a big deal about it, and he's trying to save the world again. I think it's all balderdash, to tell you the truth. I think it's about time that not only Mark Trestman but Phil Emery kind of clamp down on this kind of thing. It's not good for the team to have this kind of thing happening. But, that's Brandon Marshall being Brandon Marshall. If the Bears are happy with that and the results that they've gotten from it, then that's their deal.
It's one of those things where it's kind of cute when you've won a football game in the last calendar month, and when you haven't, you can obviously read a lot into it. Mark Trestman said that he'll address it. And why don't we stop right there talking about that?
Absolutely.
And move on to some real football. This is a little unsatisfying, but you and I have picked the exact same winner and the exact same score for Sunday.
Well, I make absolutely nothing out of that, Pat, because who knows what either of us think or what anybody thinks about the Bears. I have absolutely no confidence in this pick. I do think the Bears, this is a much more manageable situation than the previous two games. That's what I'm basing it on. That against teams like this, they've actually been a competitive team, a winning team this year. So it's possible that unless they've been totally knocked out in these last two games, that they're going to come up with a big effort and actually and possibly win. But I don't discount the possibility, like a lot of people say, that this team is down for the count, out, and is just going to get wiped clean by the Vikings on Sunday.
Well, and to your point, I mean, you look back at the teams that have beat up on the Bears pretty good. The Dolphins, the Patriots, the Packers, those are really good teams, and the Vikings are not. And when Mark Trestman said, we got to get back to what we did against Atlanta and the Jets and the Niners, the Vikings are a lot closer to those teams, who aren't very good, than they are the Packers. With the Vikings, is Teddy Bridgewater, does he instill any fear into you, or I mean, the Bears can't make another quarterback look great, can
he instills no more fear than Ryan Tannehill did. Let's put it that way. And in other words, he's an X factor. Any quarterback can actually do very well against this defense. I think the one factor that we really is a total unknown. We don't know what effect Mike Zimmer has had on the Vikings, and that they're a much better defensive team than they have. And when teams improve defensively, there's kind of a demeanor. There's a way they play. There's an aggressiveness that they play. And Teddy Bridgewater actually talked about that this week, about how Zimmer actually has the offense playing with that kind of mentality. And that's, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The Vikings are not a great team. But when you have that factor against a team that's reeling like the Bears, you never know what's going to happen. So I think that is a little bit scary, that outlook or that aspect of the game.
And that's an interesting point, too, because the Bears, you could argue, are the exact opposite of that.
Yeah,
their defense is punchless, and because of that, their offense has kind of become passive, too. Anyway, until Sunday, why don't we just leave it there?
Enough is enough.
For Mark Potash, for Lions fans everywhere, for Brandon Marshall's boxing career, I'm Patrick Finley. Please stay with SunTimes.com for all your Bears info.